and welcome to NPS Now, your source for news and information about Norfolk Public Schools. I'm your host, Karen Tanner, and with me today is Danielle Roby. She is our music coordinator here in Norfolk Public Schools. Welcome back to NPS Now.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's great to have you. We have you up here at least twice a year to talk about the great music education activities we have going on. And speaking of activities, we're in our winter season for concerts, correct?
Yes, yes.
So what is happening in our schools and our community with these concerts and events?
Well, we tend to be busy throughout the year, but especially so in December. And so all of our schools are gearing up for their winter concert season, bands, choirs, orchestras, for their night concerts for parents, and also elementary schools. And with 33 elementary schools, there's quite a bit happening on any given night in December in Norfolk Public Schools. We also have groups performing out in the community. And this week we have the Jingle Bell Jam at Military Circle Mall, which is a lot of fun for the kids because they get to come out and hear other groups perform either before or after. And we're doing that from the 5th through the 8th. From 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. daily at Military Circle. And congruently, we also have the airport concert season going on, along with so many other, nursing homes and senior centers, and students are making stops at all kinds of places as they're out and about.
Right.
And our high schools are performing for middle school groups. Middle school groups are out touring elementary schools in addition to their concert season. So it's just that time for the kids to get out and perform, and they're excited about it.
And last month, our students performed with other high school students for a jazz event.
Yes, yes. The Jazz Legacy Foundation is one of our partners, and they support music education, particularly jazz education out in schools. And our Norfolk Public Schools All-City Jazz performed November 9th in an opening at the Hampton Roads Convention Center. And they did a wonderful performance, and there were other school districts who had their jazz bands performing, and it was just a wonderful evening. They had professional sound and lighting and a huge audience, and the kids, I think we had to make them leave to get on the bus and come back. They were
sure that was a great experience. So what did they learn from being involved in these type of performances?
Well, in that case, with the Jazz Legacy, they're dealing with professional musicians, and they get a chance to see what people do who have music as a vocation, who make their living through making music, but they also experience the sound and lighting and tech people who are part of a performance like that in a large venue, much like what you do here at Channel 47, all the behind-the-scenes folks that are so important. But what they also learned, they learned those soft skills that people talk about in business and in life and being successful. They learned to work as a team. They learned to be responsible. They learn what it is for other people to be able to rely on them. And I think that's a good skill to have as we move on through life. They make friendships, many times that last a lifetime, through their experiences in the band or the choir, orchestra.
And they learn how to perform in front of an audience.
Well, that's
and the pressures
true.
with that as well.
That's true, and that's part of being successful, is learning to think on the spot and exercising your brain in a moment of stress, to be able to come through.
So when do they start rehearsing for activities like this?
Well, in general, if I'm on elementary time, we started back in October because they only have those classes once a week. And so they've planned out their program, most of them in the summer, knowing which classes are going to perform. And then they start each week during the music class, working on the song or the movement or the instrument score that the children will do, and try to get them on stage a few times, perhaps even during lunchtime, and it works out. It works out, but it does take a lot of planning ahead, lots of planning ahead.
So what are some of the successes that we've received in the music education program?
Well, we have these highlights all over. I mean, we have students who, of course, achieve individually because they have learned to play an instrument, and so they're enjoying their success as an individual. We had one young vocalist who was an all-state honors choir, young gentleman from Norview High School, Jack Whitelaw, and he and Mrs. Tillman, his teacher, went up to the Virginia Music Educators Conference, and he sang as part of the all-state choir and had a solo.
Wow.
So our school system in Norview was very well represented, and we're very pleased.
And he did a phenomenal job at the Norfolk Education Foundation's event singing the national anthem.
Yes, he's very outgoing and has a theater background, so we know he's going to do big things. We also have Senior Regional Orchestra that just happened this past weekend. We have students from Maury, Granby, Norview that are going out to, I think it's at Great Bridge this year, and that draws regionally. So our best high school string players are participating in that. And
so we have a lot going on with our students.
We certainly do.
And our programs.
Yes.
So tell us about your harp program.
Well, the harps are exciting because they were something that was very popular many years ago. These are concert and troubadour harps, which are very expensive instruments. They're beautiful instruments. Most children really would not have exposure to them unless they saw the instrument in a symphony orchestra, for instance. But Jennifer Scott, who is the orchestra teacher at Blair, had this desire to bring back the harp program. We had the harps. We had just lost, I guess, maybe we had lost some timing or personnel at some time to be able to keep it going, but we've revived it. They practice on Saturday mornings at Blair. Dr. Makovic allows them to come in the building on Saturday mornings, and Christina Morton with the Academy of Music comes over as an instructor, and sometimes we even have other string teachers joining in to support. So I think we have about 12 or 13 this year.
Oh, great.
So we're growing, and they'll perform on the Blair Winter Concert, and they will also perform for the Fine Arts Festival.
And we have some other interesting programs here, especially like the Heartstrings program. Tell us about that.
Well, that's an exciting venture for children in grades 1 and 2 who live or can get to the Kroc Center, the Salvation Army's Kroc Center off Princess Anne Road. They come over after school Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for violin instruction, and they work with Charlotte Detweiler and Kiera Smith, who are two of our string teachers. The program's expanding, and they're adding personnel. And another big highlight for the children is that Virginia Symphony Orchestra teachers come once a week and work with them. So it's a partnership with the VSO, Norfolk Public Schools, and of course the Kroc Center.
And I know you appreciate all those partnerships, especially this one now with the Norfolk Commission on the Arts and Humanities, which funded cultural enrichment for our second graders across the city. Tell us about that.
Yeah, both the art coordinator, Georgiana Filio, and myself are really excited to be able to provide a cultural enrichment experience outside of the school building for all second graders in the city. And this is due to the generosity of the Norfolk Arts and Humanities Commission. They contacted us and they said, we would like to be able to offer something citywide for a grade level this year. We're able to do it for this year. What can we put together? So we knew that we already had partnerships with the symphony, the museum, young audiences that are citywide. Of course, Virginia Arts Festival is huge for us. So we got a little creative, and we sat down with the team, and we were able to access funding for some of the second graders to see a Hurrah Players production. So children will be seeing Hurrah for the Holidays this week, and in March some will see Aladdin. So they're just tickled that they get on the bus and go out to see those things. We have children who will be doing a hands-on exhibit from some schools at the Hermitage Museum with Asian art and culture. And we also have children attending Charlotte Blake Alston at the Attucks Theater. And some of the group was incorporated into the Nutcracker event. But we were able to provide transportation. And so I want to show some appreciation also to our transportation department, Leanne Walthrop, Robert Kleinbell, and all the staff in the
and we appreciate
all
of
amazing.
The partners even in the district and outside of the district
Yeah.
who support music education in our schools.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing all of this information and enlightening our public about what we do in music education here in Norfolk schools. So thank you, Danielle.
Thank you, and come out and see a concert.
I will definitely do that.
Okay.
And we hope they do too. Stay tuned for more NPS Now.
Welcome back to NPS Now. I'm Steve Sutton, the Senior Coordinator of Athletics. Today we have two guests here to talk a little bit about basketball. We have the head coach from Lake Taylor High School, Kenny Brown. Welcome.
Good morning.
And he's brought James McCombs from JARCAM. And we're going to talk a little bit about JARCAM and what it is, but we're going to get into what a big event we have coming up, and that's December 9th. Talk about it, Kenny.
December 9th, when Oak Hill will be coming to town, National Power and the reigning national champions from Dick's Sporting Goods, gave us an opportunity to come down to bring, of course, Matt Coleman home, who is from Norfolk, that played at Maury, their lead point guard, to bring him back home to play a game. And, they chose us, and, it's going to be really exciting. The city, a lot of people in Norfolk is talking about it, and our guys are very excited just to get the opportunity. And also with the addition of McCormick, is from this area, from Norfolk Academy, who will be on that team too, along with some very, very good, outstanding players with Matt and McCormick. So the city is in a buzz right now.
Okay. All right, James, you're the title sponsor for this event, the JARCAM Showcase basketball event. So how did you get involved? And then talk about JARCAM.
Well, first, good morning. I got involved by working with, here in the city of Norfolk, with a couple of coaches, Coach Brown, Jamal Hawkins with Recruit 757, and I was asked to come in to help support the city and help support the school of Lake Taylor. And with what we do with JARCAM, it's a sports technology company where we build applications and also phone apps for the progressive tracking players that are playing basketball, starting from the middle school all the way up to their years in high school.
Okay, so let's get a little bit more into that. Metrics of basketball, we've talked a little bit about that. So exactly what is that, and how does that benefit the player, the coach, and then moving into the recruiting level?
Well, what we've done is we looked at a number of stats, and we take these stats during a game. We don't wait, we don't look at players, we look at their performance on the court, what they're actually contributing to the game. And we have a mathematician that's come in and looked at the history of NBA scoring. The high scoring, the low scoring, rebounds, assists, and steals, all those attributes were taken into it, and then we built an algorithm for it. A couple years ago, I talked it over with a couple of pro players, some coaches at the college level, and they couldn't pretty much put the input because it would be illegal, but at the same time, they steered me in the right direction with it. And what I've done over the years is actually graded players. When I coached in Georgia, I identified my players that way, and a lot of them have gone on and played college ball and from college basketball and football also into pro football. And with that, it helps coaches identify who's actually performing. They're getting the best out of the players and the ones that are not. The biggest thing is positive. You always want to have a positive number.
All right, Coach, I mean, that's high-tech stuff. When you played for Coach Baker, you probably didn't have that. He wanted you to score 25 and defend. So how do you use that, and do you use it today?
Well, yes, I use it, and James to get us the stats, and I mean, it's accurate. It's like pinpointed, and it would tell me, they got the turnovers, the assists, the shooting percentage, and we could even look at it at halftime, and look at the positives and the negatives and what we need to work on going into the second half, and also when we deal with recruiting. It's very, very big with recruiting, because when the college coaches start calling, we don't have to tell them that they average, this number of points or these number of rebounds. We can go exactly into what they are contributing per game. So it's a great asset. It's a great tool for the kids to also keep up with their individual efforts.
Okay, interesting. All right, so let's get back to this event on Friday. There's been some planning, there's some logistical work that goes on. So take us through what we've gone through, and then how did you get JARCAM involved in this?
Okay. Well, once I got the phone call with the offer to play Oak Hill, we accepted immediately. And from there, I was communicating with Jamal Hawkins, who runs 757 Recruit. And James had been working with him already, so I knew of James. And then when he gave me a call the second time, James McCombs just stepped right in. Jamal told me that he wanted to sponsor. He wanted help in any kind of way, help out with the city of Norfolk and also Lake Taylor High School. So when he came in as a sponsor, you know, I accepted immediately. And that's when the communication started going back and forth. And he just said, Coach Brown, what could I do? How could I sponsor? You just let me know and we'll do it.
Okay. So, James, you know, what does it take to get a program like Oak Hill, which is nationally known? They have not just Matt Coleman and the young man from Academy, but they have other players that are big-time recruits. So, you know, how'd you get them to come here?
Well, I think the biggest thing is they know that Matt's from the area. And the biggest thing there is they have coaches here that's coached with Matt, and they was really wanting to bring him back one more time before he goes on to the national level. And it's good on Matt to want to do that. I commend him for that, to want to come back, be with family, be with friends, and actually bring a game here because he knows it's going to actually help the city. So I really think it was Matt's idea to want to come back home, and the coaches that he's played with to want to do this. So, and also to bring Lake Taylor in is really huge.
Sure. All right. So we had the Lake Taylor Oak Hill matchup, but prior to that, we have a little bit of something else, some crosstown rivalry, a big game. You participated in it when you were a player. You know, it's a main attraction during the year, and that's Maury versus Booker T. We were able to bring that game to the scope. So talk a little bit about Maury Booker T matchup.
Well, the good thing with the Maury and Booker T matchup is everybody know the history. You know, when I played 84 to 87, you know, you had to get in line early before the girls' game started. The lines was like so long, you know. But the biggest thing is, it's not just the rivalry of the players on the basketball court. The fans, the fans are competing against each other with verbal, you know, in the stands. So
all positive stuff.
All positive stuff. That rivalry will never fade away. Booker T and Maury, people are coming out, you know. So you'll get a chance. And what we did was you'll get a chance to see a girls' game. You know, you have some girls from Booker T and Maury that, you know, it's a big stage for them, so it gives them the opportunity to play on that level. And then second game at 6 o'clock, you'll get the old rivalry with Booker T boys versus Maury boys before the headliner.
Okay. So what does this mean, one, for the city, and then just for the school system itself?
It means a great deal for the city and the school system of, you know, Norfolk Public Schools. I think it's a very big event in the wintertime. I can't remember the last time that we had an event this huge in December. So I think it's a great benefit for Norfolk Public Schools, you know, with Dr. Boone, you know, coming back as the, you know, superintendent. It will be, it's a good event under her tenure. And also, you know, you being the athletic director for Norfolk Public Schools and the school board members. I think it'll be a good, almost like a college atmosphere with high school kids, giving kids an opportunity in the city from high school, a chance to play on a level that's almost like a collegiate level. So I think it's very good for the city of Norfolk.
All right, so let's pump it up one more time. We've on our flyers, we want to sell out the scope. That's 8,000. We have 8,000 tickets. So come on, people, talk about where we can get all the games and where we can get tickets.
Right. You know, and we tell everybody to come out there. You know, you get 3 games of high school basketball. You know, we got the tickets at Ticketmaster. You got the tickets they sell at Maury, and you got the tickets at Booker T and Lake Taylor. And the good thing is, you know, with parking and with this event, it's going to be a lot of people getting in line trying to get tickets. So I encourage everybody to go to the different places to get your tickets in advance, so you can just go in and park and come right into, you know, the building. And you know, it's a big buzz, but you know, at Lake Taylor High School, you know, we're not a team where I know the predictions and all of that. A lot of friends have been calling me, but you know, I mean, we're coming to play basketball. You know, we're coming to play basketball, but I will encourage everybody to get your tickets in advance, and then that way you can just relax and you can just park and go right into the stadium as opposed
Yep.
to standing in line.
Great place to watch a basketball game. So, James, appreciate you stepping up to be the title sponsor. Kenny, good luck in the on Friday night, and we hope a lot of fans come out to support all 3 games:
Yes.
4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and then obviously the featured game, Oak Hill, Lake Taylor at 8 o'clock. So again, we appreciate you for coming in.
Thanks, Steve.
More NPS Now after this.
Welcome back to NPS Now. With us today is Bruce Brady. He is the Senior Coordinator for History and Social Sciences, correct?
Yes.
Great. Glad to have you on NPS Now.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, it's been a recent news article we saw talking about a Stanford University study that talked about fake news and what's real news and what's reliable resources or sources that you can actually really quote. And so how are we helping our students determine what's real sources or real news?
Yeah, this has become an issue, especially come to light in the last election cycle, with all types of stories being put out on the internet, and has really become a source of news for a lot of our young people. Mm-hmm. I remember growing up, we had the daily paper, mm-hmm. and then we may have had the evening news. But today, students are constantly, through Facebook, through Twitter, being exposed to different stories. And we do have to work with them in deciphering, what's accurate and what falls into the category of fake news. And so our standards of learning for history and social science does look at students and how they interact with different sources of information. One of our essential skills, 1D, is about questioning and using critical thinking skills. And so over grade levels, that skill develops in our students, where in 5th grade, the students have to be able to recognize points of view, mm-hmm. Looking at the source, the author, what's this author's point of view, and be able to identify that, and then maybe compare that and recognize a different point of view in a different article.
So how are our students using the Stanford framework?
We have, from the Stanford History Education Group, we're using what's called the Reading Like a Historian framework. And it can be applied to historical sources, mm-hmm. primary source documents, but it can also be used for any media sources. And what the framework does, and we've implemented the framework this year from K-12, it requires students examine a source through 3 or 4 different tasks. The first task is for them to look at that source, and it's called sourcing. So who's the author? They have to ask themselves, what's the author's point of view? Why is the author writing this information? And once they focus on the author, then as they read the source of information, when they read the article, they have to note what claims are being made, as well as what evidence is being presented to back up their claim.
This is a lot of work for the students to decipher.
It is. And once they've done that, then a very important part of the framework is that they have to corroborate the information. They have to look at additional sources, not just that one, but here's something I've read, here's claims that are being made, and there may or may not be evidence. But then looking at other sources, how does this source compare? Does it contradict what I'm reading in this source?
They're becoming fact checkers.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Are there discrepancies? And that's really at the heart of it, what you just said about fact-checking.
So what grade level? You mentioned K through 12, but
Yes.
what does that look like for the different grade levels? Because I know it's different cognitive skills or thought processes involved with this is very unique.
Yes, and it does. It develops over time. Our elementary students, our lower elementary students are just learning what a point of view is, being able to find or identify a point of view in an article and a document. That continues to grow, and then we ask them to begin to summarize those points of view, to put those points of view in their own words, until it gets up into high school where they have to analyze, and analyze a source for accuracy, for bias, for whether it's credible or not. We also have content standards in our civics courses and our government classes, where teachers teach students how to evaluate a source, how to identify and separate fact from opinion in a source, how to identify bias. In our high school government classes, students are taught the ways that the media influences public opinion. And so we have both the skill standards and the content standards that
So are these
address
specific
this.
activities the students are doing in the classroom?
Yes, when you go into classrooms and you see students working with primary and secondary sources, they should be going through those sources using the framework. They should be using multiple sources of information, making those comparisons, finding discrepancies between one document and another, trying to check those facts. And that's really what it comes down to. Students and adults even need to take the time, look at what they've read, and look for that corroboration.
So what's the ultimate goal that we want our students
The ultimate goal is that when they leave us, they're able to independently analyze information that they're being presented with, that they're able to determine what is fake news, what's credible information, and then have that determine their outlook or how they're approaching the information.
Because just because it's on Facebook or Twitter
That's
doesn't
right.
mean that it's factual.
That's
that
right.
It's true.
That's right. And I was recently at a conference where this was an issue for social science teachers and educators. And a lot of the fake news that's out there is meant to invoke some type of emotional response. And a lot of times that emotional response or how students feel about that information ends up determining what they think. And our goal by teaching students how to analyze source information is that they do the thinking part first, that they do their fact checking, they corroborate information, and then what they think should then determine how they feel about a certain news story or an event.
Right. I'm glad you came on the show today to share that information and letting our parents and our students know that it's important to fact check, and there's a process, a
Yes.
method to the madness, so to speak.
Yes, there
so thank
is.
you, Bruce, for coming on today.
Thank you very much.
And we want to thank you for watching NPS Now. It airs weekly on WNPS Channel 47, or you can view us online at www.npsk12.com. If you have any great story ideas or information you'd like to share, email us at nps_news@npsk12.com. Again, we want to thank you for watching NPS Now.